And I remember reading somewhere of like, oh, well, if you just change your diet and eat healthier, like a lot of these problems go away. Passionate about this health thing, and I was able to like heal myself, and at that point I'd started to meet other people that had healed themselves with nutrition and through the internet and stuff like that.
I feel like in today's world where everything is fast-paced and it's like go, 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 and I feel like, yes, medication definitely has a place on its own, but if there's an option, I would always choose a naturopath because it's much more sustainable.
I was talking about the fiber thing, and one other point. So we mentioned obviously it helps you poop. Number 2, it slows the absorption of glucose. Here's another thing. It's like the third job of fiber that's super important is that it's a prebiotic, meaning that it feeds the good, healthy gut bacteria in your gut. When you involve the kids in the process of making the food, or even better yet, you involve the kids in the process of growing the food.
Hey everyone, welcome to Minimally Processed. Today, I'm really excited to bring you a conversation with Dr. Ben. Dr. Ben's story is pretty incredible. He actually started out in the tech industry, but after struggling with his own health challenges that doctors couldn't solve, he decided to take matters into his own hands and pursued a Doctor of Chiropractic degree. He's now the founder and CEO of Create Health. For almost a decade, he's been helping people heal from chronic health conditions and autoimmune conditions by looking beyond the usual approaches and really getting to the root of the problem. In our chat, Dr. Ben opens up about his journey, how he went from dealing with chronic pain, fatigue, and skin issues to discovering the healing through nutrition. He'll share some practical tips, personal stories, a peek into his book, Create Health, and also share his perspectives on how conventional and functional medicine can be complemented with new approaches and introduce some fresh ideas about the role that fruits and vegetables play in real healing. So whether you're curious about holistic health or just looking for some inspiration, you're in for a treat. Let's jump in and hear Dr. Ben's story. Hey, Dr. Ben.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. We've been talking for a while now, and I'm totally impressed by your story, how you heal, how you even approach healing. And so I'm super excited to be talking to you today. So before we get started, I want to give our audience a brief introduction about yourself, and I want you to do that so that I don't forget anything or there's nothing lost in translation. So can you let our audience know who you are, what your background is, and what made you to get to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. So it's Dr. Ben Benulis, and my background is that about 15 years ago, I came down with a bunch of symptoms that at the time doctors could not really diagnose and definitely not treat. And I had chronic muscle pain, chronic fatigue, really bad skin issues, and really bad digestive issues. And funny enough, like you, I was working in tech. I was in Austin, Texas at a tech job, and had no idea about any of this natural health stuff. In fact, I thought it was kind of stupid. I thought that was like, oh, that's what you do if you can't get into medical school. You go do stupid stuff that doesn't work. Until I entered the medical system to try to address these issues. And, went to the primary care doctor, and they said, oh, okay, well, you got skin issues. We're going to refer you to the dermatologist. You got gut issues. We're going to refer you to the gastroenterologist. You got chronic pain issues. We're going to refer you to the rheumatologist. And so one doctor quickly became 3 or 4. And then each one of them is like, running their own labs, doing their own exam, trying to figure out what's wrong with me. And I'd like to use that word in quotes because oftentimes there's nothing wrong with people. They're just bodies just adapted to a very sick world. And so really wasn't getting answers. And so like one specialist is, well, I don't see anything wrong with you. I'm going to refer you to this other person, right? And it started just getting passed around. And I was really getting frustrated that no one really had answers for me. No one really seemed to care. No one wanted to spend more than a few minutes with me. And it was just sort of like, well, this doesn't look like anything we saw in the textbook. So Like, oh, your labs came back and everything's normal.
It's
Thyroid's normal.
normal.
This is normal. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
people were, treating the piece of paper and not me. And as you can imagine, and I'm sure you have been through this maybe, and I'm sure people listening have, where it's like you start to get frustrated of like, hello. I'm like, I'm struggling here. I'm not doing well. Can you fix it?
Yeah.
And
Just because the paper is fine doesn't mean I'm not fine. I'm telling you, like,
yeah.
I'm
And it's
screaming
like,
here.
yeah, it's like, are we
Yeah.
really going to play this game that like, well, the piece of paper, like I thought these were like the smartest people, right? Like the doctors were the smartest people, but it became, I just had this expectation that they're going to, I'm going to come in and they're going to diagnose me with A, B, and C, and they're going to give me drugs X, Y, and Z, and then I'm cured, and then life goes on, right? And apparently it doesn't shake out that way, And I find that most people are learning that the hard way, right? And that even after I tell them that, they go, well, I'm going to still go to the doctor anyway, and then and they're, oh, you were right,
After like 4 years.
Yeah, so all of this happened essentially out of necessity of like I started to get really frustrated. And some people, it's sad, but they just kind of give in and just go, oh, I guess there's no hope for me. And that's sad, but I was just not willing to take like the answers I was getting. And so after about, 6, 7, 8 months of just kind of like going this like medical merry-go-round of like no one really has answers, I'm going to refer you to this guy. I was just like, man, I'm done with this. Like I'm done, because there's always like hope, like, oh, okay, maybe this person's an idiot, but like this next guy that they send me to, like they'll figure it out, right? And then it just sort of became like I realized like no one was gonna figure it out. Yeah. And I just had this idea of like, well, it's like I have a science background. So I did, funny enough, when we talk about what's your background, I did mechanical engineering in undergrad, and I worked in like semiconductors, tech stuff, microchip stuff. But before that, I was actually in a pilot biotechnology program in high school in the 90s. And I learned like biochemistry. We were doing PCR tests in the 90s before, 25 years before most people knew that was a thing.
Yeah.
And so I had a background in like biology, biochemistry, but I never really used it because I just had kind of a realization that I didn't want to do like pharmaceutical stuff when I was in college, and just like math and physics were more exciting to me. And but like I had that back, I was like, well, I kind of know like some basics about like biology and chemistry and biochemistry. Like maybe I can figure this out, right? I really thought I had like some rare disease that no one could diagnose, and I was the only one, at the time, and so I just started digging in and like doing my own research, as they call it, right? And becoming my own experiment of one, and trying out pretty much everything alternative, because it was like I felt like I had maxed out conventional, right? So it's just like, this stuff exists. I mean, maybe this is what I need. Just sort of like I've gone the conventional route. I've gone down that path. Like, I've just kind of hit a dead end, and I want to get better. So I'm willing to try. I'm willing to go down as many dead ends, as I need to get better. Right.
Yeah.
And I remember reading somewhere of like, oh, well, if you just change your diet and eat healthier, like a lot of these problems go away. And I thought, not doing that. Lame, But as I begin to exhaust all these other, like, trying different supplements and like trying to eat like the gluten-free pasta and just like little like herbal tinctures that I could find at the natural grocery store, seeing the acupuncturist, doing the colon hydrotherapy, like all these other things, it kind of didn't really get me any results. It was like, okay, I was kind of painted into a corner of like, all right, I guess it's time to stop, microwaving all my food. Which, I guess it took me to getting to that point, right? Of like,
trial and
of like,
error and just
yeah.
not, seeing results after paying hundreds and thousands of dollars on all these therapies.
Luckily, I didn't have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars, but
Oh,
I
okay.
probably paid thousands of dollars.
Yeah, yeah, hundreds. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's true.
but yeah, there are people that literally, unfortunately, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on things that don't work, whether it's conventional or alternative.
Yeah,
I think, but the main thing was like, money aside, it was just like time. It was like my life. Like
right.
I was like literally at a point where like the chronic fatigue was so bad that I would have to like knock back like 2-3 Monster Energy drinks just to like get through the workday. Right. And then on the weekend, just sleep because I was just exhausted. So I basically had no life. Right. And it was like getting worse and worse. The stomach pain was to the point where like after a lot of meals, it was like 9 or 10 out of 10. Like I would be lying in bed like, oh my God, oh, everything hurts. And like it was like I had just enough energy to kind of work and function at my job, but just barely. Like literally my manager pulled me aside and was like, if you don't get your act together, like you're going to fail your performance review, which is,
it's a big deal in tech world. Yes.
Yeah. That basically means you're going to be fired.
Right.
Come January when we review your performance. So it was like, hey, like money aside, like whatever I was paying on anything was like if I didn't have a job, if I couldn't work, if I couldn't function in life, like, well, and so I felt like I was running out of time, right? Because I was like slowly getting worse, like, and so it was like I got to do something, right? Like this urgency of like,
I want to get well.
Yeah, because like I have to, right? Like, what am I going to be like, homeless and sick on the streets? So yeah, I was under the gun, like big time. But yeah, it took a good probably a year to be like, okay, I'll eat healthier. God.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And because I'd been thin my whole life, right? And it's Texas. So I was living on like Taco Cabana and Mountain Dew and like, microwave food at home and, like just, but I was always thin. Right. And, at work, a lot of times they order in pizza for you. They order in, brownies or whatever it is. Right. And like, I would be the guy who's like, took more pizza, I would get 2 brownies. Right. And people are like, oh, that's going to catch up to you one day. And I was like, no, it's not. I've been thin my whole life, right? And, well, the irony is that it did catch up to me. It's just like not in terms of I got fat. I just got like severely chronically ill. Severely chronically ill. So it was like it was kind of painted into a corner. Like, I guess I got to change my diet, right? And so I didn't know how to cook, and so my thought was literally like I didn't read any books on nutrition really. I was just sort of like, okay, I got to eat healthier, but I'm lazy, so I don't want to cook. So what if I just started making smoothies? Like that was kind of like my idea, right? Of like, let's just, because I microwaved everything at home, right? And so a blender is kind of like a microwave, right? Like you open up the device, you put the food inside, you close the device, you hit a few buttons, beep, 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 30, 60 seconds later, you got your food. It's like, well, let's just do that with produce, right? And I didn't like literally was just like whatever food, fruits and vegetables I got in the fridge, just kind of throw it in there, just like kind of knock it back, right?
Like raw fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, and there would be like, just like tomatoes. So you
compromise your taste buds,
yeah, jalapeno peppers in with like a pear and a banana, and like, I was just like, just make, like I had no like. It was very crude. It was just sort of like, let's just. I've always been kind of a fly by the seat of my pants, like make it up as I go along kind of guy. Like I resist like following direction. Like So it was like
almost like a rebellious kid.
Yeah. It was just like, well, I'm going to do like these doctors don't know it. I'm just going to do this, right? Like I'm just going to, but after a few days, few weeks of doing that, you're like, I should probably look up some recipes. because if like I'm going to really do this, like they need to taste good, you know?
Right.
And that really changed my life because I went into YouTube. Okay, this is 2010, and like searched smoothie recipes. Okay, really not knowing, like just like give me some smoothie recipes. Like what do I put in the blender to make it taste good? And I came across, several things, but I came across this guy, and I don't know if he's still on YouTube. He was off for a while. I think his channel got deleted, and I think he came back because he's like somewhat controversial and really out there, But he's a health educator. His name's Dan McDonald. His channel is called The Life Regenerator. And back then, 15 years ago, he was living in an RV in the woods.
Oh.
And he would like literally come out in front of his RV and like shoot a YouTube video of him like making a smoothie outside of his RV. And he'd be like, okay, we're going to throw in the bananas, we're going to throw in the mangoes, and here I got the kale, and we're going to blend this up. And I was like, okay, cool. And started watching him, and then just started doing the smoothies, started feeling better. And the thing was, this guy was really out there, and he would talk about all this holistic health information that I thought in the beginning was crazy. I thought this guy was like nuts. I was like, just shut up and make the smoothie recipe, dude.
You just wanted the smoothie recipe?
Yeah. But he would be like, well, you know what? I just met someone the other day who, had cancer, and they got all a bunch of their body parts cut out. And, it's just so barbaric, and they want to do chemotherapy. It's like, if I had cancer, he's like, I'll tell you what I would do. I would just drink this. I would just drink only this for 6 months. And I was like, whoa, okay, man, like that's enough. Like, just make the smoothie. Don't talk about you're crazy, right? But like, I was making the smoothies. I was starting to feel better. I kept watching the videos, and like, he would talk about the body healing itself. And I know that's something we probably wanted to talk about today. And I was like, man, you know what? Like, this guy's starting to make some sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I was feeling better. Like, I was feeling like my stomach wasn't hurting anymore. I was starting to get my energy back. My skin was clearing up. And I kind of didn't notice at first because it was slow, but I was like, maybe this nut job's like onto something. And that was kind of the beginning of my health journey. But went farther down that road, eventually healed from everything. And like, when I say healed from everything, like, not only did I like get like I felt better than I felt my entire life. Like, I had all this energy.
Almost got your life back. Yeah.
Yeah. Like my life back and then some. Like, I had all this energy. I started running like half marathons and doing like adventure races. My mental clarity, just went through the roof. I wasn't expecting that. Like, I got to the point where like, in tech, it's pretty intense, right? And
you're drained and stressed. Yeah.
Yeah, you're drained and stressed a lot of time. But I had so much mental clarity that I was like finishing my work day at like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was just like, I'm done. Everything that needs.
Speed.
Yeah. And then so I would just kind of like, in the beginning, I would just kind of like sit in my office, pretend like, okay, like, don't want anybody to know I got nothing to do.
How was your performance review that year?
It was, well, funny enough, that boss ended up like taking another job and left the company, and they brought in this new guy, and they basically told the new guy like, oh, Ben's the A player on this team. Nice. So yeah, performance review went well. Yeah. Then it just kind of spiraled from there. But I hit 30, and I just kind of went through some life stuff, and I started reevaluating what I was doing. And I was like, I don't want to keep doing this tech thing. Like, I'm like, when you have that much mental clarity, like, you can't ignore things that are like bothering you in your life anymore. It's like, I can't keep going to this job and like doing this. Like, just to give you an example, and I hope I'm telling a pretty long story here. Are we good on time?
Yeah, no, please take your time. I have nothing after this. Yes.
So I worked for this microchip company, right? And just to give you an idea of like a matrix moment that I had when I was there, that I really like, I need to leave. And don't get me wrong, like, I had the most cush job. Like, seriously, it was great. It was on like the fifth floor of this office building in downtown Austin, right next to City Hall, like overlooking the Colorado River. Like, I had it great, but The pay was great. Like the people were great. It was one of those places that like, if you didn't perform, you failed your performance review. Like they never did layoffs. Company was always profitable. High quality people worked there. But there's unfulfilling work. It was like, okay, we're going to ship more like computer chips that are going to go into TVs in Japan. Like, woohoo, right? And so I remember I was at this meeting and we were like planning for the new year of like, and so part of my job was to like look at, okay, what's the forecasted like projected sales of certain microchips, and then we got to make sure that we have enough supplies of like materials and capacity in the factories to build it, right? So we had to like, okay, you guys want to sell like 2 million of these microchips? Like, okay, let's make sure we got enough material, right? And these guys came in from this one marketing department and they were like, well, we're super excited. We just won this new deal over in Beijing with this company, and they build glucose monitors for diabetes. Okay. And they're like, and we're looking to make like 90% gross margin on this chip. We designed it back like, 15 years ago. We could sell it for them for like we can build it for 7 cents and we can charge them $1.05 for it. And they're like, and here's the thing, guys, we met with them and they said that the diabetes market is exploding. So we're going to make a lot of money. Right. And everyone's like high-fiving each other like, oh, this is so great. And thinking they're like doing a good thing because they're like going into, well, if you know anything about type 2 diabetes, it's purely a foodborne illness. Like it doesn't need to exist.
Based on lifestyle, right?
Yeah. So it's like you can continue to monitor your sugar. There's nothing wrong with that. It's good to have it. But like you don't need a bunch of expensive equipment. You just need to eat better. Right. And so it's like, these people's hearts are in the right places, but they just don't know. Like they just don't know. And it was just like, wow, you guys are like excited about that. Like you understand that like, oh, there's going to be more diabetes. So we're going to make more like, so that was like, okay, I got to figure something else out. Like that was that. So, so at that point I was like, okay, maybe, and I was just thinking like, what else am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I was like, well, I'm really passionate about this health thing. And, I was able to like heal myself. And at that point, I'd started to meet other people that had healed themselves with nutrition and through the internet and stuff like that. And I thought like, oh, maybe I could be a doctor who helps people with that because no other doctor could help me back then. And, I feel like with a few brain cells and the knowledge that I have, I could do a better job than they did,
Wow.
No shade on them. It was this whole area of health that they had completely ignorant of.
Yeah, it's a different path, right? It's not the conventional medicine that you want to go into. It's the more alternative natural approach, which is not very common. And it actually worked.
Yeah. And it's not very common today, but like back 150 years ago, it was very common.
Yeah.
But we can go into why kind of, the pharmaceutical approach kind of gained dominance. That's a discussion. But anyway, I was like, okay, well, I don't want to go to medical school and like learn drugs and surgery for 7 years or whatever, and then go out and not do it. Like that'd be soul crushing to have to endure all of that, And so I was going to go to school to be a naturopath, but it turns out in Texas, naturopaths aren't licensed. You can't be a naturopathic doctor with a license. You can be a naturopath, but you can't be a naturopathic doctor. You can't really do a lot, right?
At that time, is it still the case?
I believe so.
Okay.
I think naturopathy is licensed in like 26 states.
Oh, okay.
I think they added like one new state a few years ago, but it's like half of the U.S. It's unlicensed.
And the rest is just functional medicine doctors, basically.
Yeah, well, functional, you can be many different types of doctor and be a functional medicine. You can be an MD, you can be a naturopath, you can be a chiropractor. You can be, functional medicine is sort of like, it's an approach, but like you just need to be able to prescribe supplements, and diet changes, which most doctors of any kind have that in their scope. And even if you're a naturopath in an unlicensed state, I think you can still prescribe. I don't know the details, but I knew it was kind of like it would be basically be chopped off at the legs. And and I thought I wanted to stay in Texas, which I never went back. Like literally only ever went back once to visit in like 13 years. I miss it. So anyway, I was like, okay. And I'd been reading a lot of books about Healing with food,
Healing.
healing through fasting, and a lot of the old school guys who did this back in like the early 1900s were all chiropractors. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, okay, I guess I can do that and just practice as a like be a chiropractor, but kind of practice as a de facto naturopath. Anyway, life shook out. I ended up in Arizona, where naturopaths have like the best scope of anybody, any state in the country. They can treat cancer here, and it's no problem. Like there's like literally like
Oh,
natural cancer clinics where they feed you green juice.
wow. That's good to
Here,
know.
which is so people come from all over the country and the world to get natural
Heal.
cancer treatment here. But anyway, yeah. So now I work with people mostly virtually, just helping them change their diet in order to heal. And of course, and like you and I talked about, there's the information, but there's also the implementation, right?
Exactly.
And I didn't really understand that for a long time because I was just like, man, I remember my life in 2010. I was painted into a corner. I was sick and I was running out of time and like I had to do it. There was no choice. Like I was very under the gun to like, I have to change my diet and I have to get better, And so, but then I would like give people, okay, here's the diet plan. And they'd be like, oh, I can't stick to it. It's too hard. Right. And I was like, it's too hard. You're sick and you're like in, all this pain and your life's falling apart. What are you doing? And I didn't really understand that people needed support. Like people needed like guidance and they just needed
Like accountability buddies. Yeah.
accountability to be in community with other people that have like done what they're attempting to do.
Mm-hmm.
All that plays a huge role. So now that's really like the focus of what I do is like trying to help people make these big shifts. And it's been pretty remarkable. I mean, I've helped people heal from some things that at the time when they met me, they were like, can you help me?
Yeah.
And I said, I think so, but I'm not sure. And they're like, oh, okay, well, good. You're our only option. And, and then they ended up getting better, but like, I'm always honest with people of like, oh, this I can help, this I can't, or like maybe, like, I try to be very realistic with that, but I tend to like, just undershoot the runway because I never want to tell people, oh yeah, I can definitely do this and then can't, right?
Yeah, no, I know how you approach that and you've helped me too. You helped me kind of break down what my condition is and how to approach it. And I can't wait to actually, move forward and experience the change. But I think it's amazing what you do because I feel like in today's world where everything is fast paced and it's like go, go, go. And I feel like, yes, medication definitely has a place on its own, but if there's an option, I would always choose a naturopath because it's much more sustainable. It's not a band-aid approach. And you can actually see the healing. You can see the progress. You can actually feel the changes, just like how you described. And so I'm just like so grateful that there's doctors like yourself and you're able to heal. And so with that, I guess we can answer the big question, which is, how does the body heal itself? How is it designed? How is our natural body designed to heal itself?
Well, that's a good question. So I'll answer it this way. Have you ever cut your hand?
I haven't done it intentionally, but I've accidentally cut my hand several times. Yes.
Yeah. And so, like it's not cut anymore, right?
No, of course not. It's healed.
Okay. It's healed, right? What had happened if you got a cut in your hand or your knee or wherever, right? And you just like rubbed a bunch of dirt in it.
Dirt?
Yeah.
It's probably going to get infected and inflamed.
It's going to get infected. It's going to get worse, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you like pick at the scab, right? Like as long as you keep doing that, it's not going to get better. It may even get worse, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But what if you don't do anything? What if you just put a Band-Aid over it? What happens?
Kind of heals with time and eventually fades away.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hope you don't mind me like answering your question like a Socratic way, right? Because it's a thought experiment to explain it, right? It works better.
Please, yes.
Like, well, the body just heals itself and that's what you got to know, right? So the Band-Aid, right? Like you put the Band-Aid on and then it heals, right? Did the Band-Aid heal the knee or the hand or whatever?
No, you just covered it.
Just covered it.
Yeah.
So then, because you never like no one's ever like taken a Band-Aid off and been like, wow, magical Band-Aid, you healed me.
No, that's why it's only $1 to get a Band-Aid, right?
Yeah.
Or even less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, So what did the Band-Aid do then? Why did you use it? What purpose did it serve?
To keep it from getting further infected, because you, like you said, to your example, we didn't want to put all the dirt and all the bacteria that we kind of expose ourselves to go into the wound.
Yes. So the Band-Aid prevented it from getting worse.
Right.
What the Band-Aid did was it prevented any obstruction to the process of healing. Right?
Yeah.
Because rubbing dirt in it, picking at the scab, doing these things is going to obstruct the healing process that's trying to happen. Okay.
Yes.
And so the Band-Aid just made sure that it was kind of like an insurance policy on no obstructions, right? And so that is like at a small scale, that's the body healing itself, right? And the so-called quantum leap that I want people to make is that like that's true with anything,
even organs,
pretty much anything, right? Like obviously, like if you get your arm chopped off, it's like you got to get it reattached, right? You're not going to grow a new one. We're not reptiles, right? But for any sort of like chronic disease, autoimmune condition, type 2 diabetes, like all these things, we're obstructing our body's ability to heal itself. A lot of times, most of the time, the primary thing is with the food that we eat. Okay. And so if you're like, so it's like if you think of something like lupus, right, which is an autoimmune condition, if you're going and eating unhealthy food every day, and maybe it's like super unhealthy food, like you're eating fast food all the time, or maybe it's just like modestly unhealthy food, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, you're like rubbing salt in the wound every day, and so the wound stays open. The wound, right, which is the disease condition, is like, oh, you have a chronic condition. It's called lupus. It's like really what's really going on is you're chronically obstructing the healing process of this disease condition every day, right? And so by consuming fresh fruits and vegetables, by consuming something like a green smoothie, it's like you're removing the obstructions to the body healing itself, okay? And then over time, it begins to do it, right? Like when I went through my process of like, man, I am feeling better. I do have more energy. My skin's clearing up. Like that, isn't that interesting, right? Like I witnessed firsthand my body heal itself. It wasn't like, oh, here's like a patch of eczema on my hand. I'll rub some kale on it and then it'll get better. No, it was just providing the body the right conditions.
Nutrients.
Yeah, the nutrients, right? And not providing it the things that were obstructing the healing.
Like the process.
And then boom, a natural process happens. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So the obstructions that you're referring to are basically the processed food, just using shortcut meals to put something in our body just to fill our stomach up, but not really nourishes from within, right?
Yeah, foods that have things that are not fit for humans and are lacking things that are.
And have ingredients that we can't even pronounce.
Yeah. Like if it's something synthetic, like that's an obstruction. That's like your body has to do work to like get rid of that, right? And then that's work it can't do to heal you.
Right. And so is the diet that you're referring to mostly like vegetarian, carnivore diet, vegan, whole food, plant-based? What is it? Where are you on the spectrum?
Sure. So, and obviously like the philosophy can apply to any of these. And then it's just like an argument of semantics of like, what's the best diet? Right. And so in my opinion, it's a whole food, plant-based diet of primarily raw, fresh fruits and vegetables. Okay. It's like you learn in kindergarten, fruits and vegetables are the healthiest foods. And then we go, oh yeah. And then we go out and live our lives and like, don't really do that, So that's what I did. That's what I've been getting great results with people for. Back then when I was doing it, there was no like the carnivore diet didn't exist, So I see all these like new trends kind of come on and I'm like, okay, maybe people are getting results with that. I don't have any experience with it personally, but I can just tell you, what's worked for me and the people I've worked with.
Yeah. And we'll come back to the power of fruits and vegetables. But before we go to that, I guess what I want to touch on is because we're talking about carnivore diet, we're in this era of protein. Protein
Yeah.
is everything. And I feel like we have these like movements of we're kind of over fantasizing one ingredient, right? Like there was an era of healthy fats, and then there was an era of no carbs, and now we're in this era of protein, more protein. That's all you hear. So
Yeah.
in the whole food plant-based diet, how do you get the protein? And is it even important? Because it seems like with a whole food plant-based, it isn't, right?
Sure. I want to answer this question. Can I also address like just what you were talking about before of like, we go through these kind of trends of like, oh, it's all about the this
Yes.
or it's all about the that,
Yes,
right?
yes, please.
And so like just big picture on that, an important distinction that where people get lost in these trivialities of like, I just got to get more protein, right?
Right.
Like I just got to eat healthy fats, right? And they get lasered in on like one or two nutrients, right?
Right.
And the thing is like, food is not just a collection of nutrients. Like food is very complex, right? Like, if it was just protein was the solution, I mean, you could just eat powder all day, right? And I'm sure the supplement companies would love that, but like, that's what we call a reductionist view, right? But like, there are so many phytonutrients and things that like nature, like science hasn't even discovered that are in this, right? And we want to just, well, it's got to be about protein, or it's got to be about like, as long as you have your, I'm just blank. It's end of the week. I'm blanking on names of nutrients, right? But like, if you always just get your riboflavin, like as long as
now it's like creatine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like food doesn't work that way. Food, like natural foods are a spectrum of a bunch of different things, right? And we get lost in the weeds of like, oh, I just got to get this one nutrient, right? But here's the other thing is like, nutrition is not like, it's not like necessarily like the more the better, right? Because like there's a Goldilocks effect of like, if you don't get enough, you get a deficiency. If you get too much, it can be harmful, right? Like, there's naturally occurring sodium in like vegetables, right? But like, if you take too much salt, like if you drink seawater, it's bad for you, right? Like too much salt, like the ancient samurais used to kill themselves by just eating a handful of salt. Okay.
Wow.
So it's like, oh, we got to, it's nice because it's like, oh, this is the one, I just need to get this one thing, right? Or I just need to avoid this one thing, right? Like I just gotta eat gluten-free.
Right. That's another
gluten-free bagel, gluten-free pizza, gluten-free waffles, right? And then, I did that. I had that phase, just got to be gluten-free, right? And I was eating all these gluten-free processed foods because it was just like, I was just looking at one thing, thinking like that was the answer, right? But like, it's a spectrum, right? So there's better philosophical ways to determine what would be the optimal diet for humans. Okay, and we can get into that. But in regards to the protein question, here's what I'll tell you, is that most people are getting way too much of it. It's overloading
body doesn't
the kidneys.
digest it. Yeah.
Yeah, body can't even absorb it or use it. And it just becomes pro-inflammatory. It becomes just like taxing on their kidneys. Okay. And so the other thing is all plants have protein in them. It's like, how did the gorilla get so big? How did the cow get so big? How did all these animals that only eat plants, right? That we are like, oh, we got to eat that animal for protein. It's like, what was that animal eating? Grass, maybe? I mean, I wouldn't recommend eating grass. It's not digestible by humans, but it's like it came from a plant originally. So plants have about 5 to 10% by calories protein, and really, honestly, more than that becomes inflammatory in the body. And so you see all these bodybuilders and stuff that like eat a ton of protein, right? And you see these muscles and everything, and a lot of what you got to understand, a lot of that is not that they're not strong, right? And not that they don't have muscle, but like a lot of that, like that, almost like they look like balloon animals. It's because it's like inflammation marbled into the muscle, right? So they like look great aesthetically, but like they're just because they're like super inflamed, Right. And a lot of these bodybuilders, we know that they're not healthy. They go through all this gymnastics to like cut a bunch of weight before the competition and like dehydrate before the competition. And, it's great for aesthetics, maybe great for strength, but like long term, a lot of these guys have heart attacks and deal with all these chronic health issues after their body or develop them during their bodybuilding career. So, look, if we're really all dying of a protein deficiency, it's like you go to a store and you look at it's like everything is like, this has protein, like extra protein, right? It's like we're not sick because we're not getting enough protein, right? Like if anything, we're sick because we're just way over focused on it. So,
yeah,
I hope that answers the question. Yeah,
it does. It puts things into perspective, actually, because if you think about it, because we're only focused on that one thing, we might see results, but we don't know what's happening under the skin. And then it isn't until like few years when the body, gets up to the threshold and it comes out as an ailment or a disease, right? And that's when we know. So I totally get it. So what is happening inside our body when we put in these fruits and vegetables, specifically the whole food diet that you're talking about? Because we know that they have a lot of phytonutrients, it just provides a lot of nourishment inside our body. But at the organ level, what is it actually doing?
So first off, here's something that a lot of people don't like to hear, is that every cell in your body runs on a glucose. Okay, simple sugar. If you ingest fat, right, and you don't ingest any carbs, your body still has to, it can break it down into ketones, but that's another discussion, right? Like if you ingest starch, it has to break it down into sugar, right? So, like if you're getting simple sugar from fruit, that's the easiest for the body to break down, right? And so the less steps it has to break down, the less metabolic waste it gives off when it does this process, right? So it's a clean burning fuel, okay? And then the other thing is that you're essentially consuming a food that the body likes so much, that has so little metabolic waste, that the body can begin to clean house, right? Because if you're not, the way you detoxify is to stop toxing, right? Because the body's always trying to detoxify. It's always trying to get rid of stuff. It's just most people are throwing way more toxins at it than it can detoxify in a given amount of time, right? So once you reduce that toxic load in the body and its capacity to detoxify is greater than the amount that you're throwing at it every day, then it can begin to get rid of stuff.
So the less your body works, the more healthier you are.
The less work your body has to do to digest, assimilate your food, the more work it can do to heal itself.
Wow.
Or energy's freed up to go run marathons or go play with your kids or whatever. But like, our bodies are miraculous. I mean, when you think about the stuff that most people in the Western world are feeding it every day, and then it still is alive, like I had that realization of like, oh my God, I don't know how I used to live, but like it can handle all that. Like it can stay barely alive and do it. But like when you give it like the substrates, like the optimal substrates, like it's, like I said, I experienced just a level of health that I didn't know existed. I hope that answers the question, but feel free we can go deeper on it if you want. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it definitely helps answer the question. And so do you only focus on juicing specifically, or do you focus on also consuming raw fruits and vegetables as a whole?
Great question. So this is a smoothie. It's not a juice. Okay. So I'm a bigger fan of, I still do some, so a smoothie still has the fiber in it, right? It's like you put stuff in a blender, and that's, so you keep the fiber. Fiber is super important as a nutrient. I know there's this, fiber is not an essential nutrient. Like, okay, I like to poop, and I'd rather not go months without it, right? But fiber does way more than like help you poop. Okay, so fiber. So another important job is that fiber slows the absorption of sugar into the bloodstream, right? So I could drink this whole smoothie, and even though there's like literally 9 bananas in it, I would never get a sugar spike because the fiber slows the absorption so that like it's a steady stream of sugar rather than like a sugar spike. Now, if I were to drink this whole thing and it was Coca-Cola, I'd be like bouncing off the walls, right? Because there's no fiber in that.
That was my next question, actually, because with juicing and smoothies, when you break down the fruits and vegetables, it releases glucose, right? So what does that do to our glucose? Does it spike it? What does it do? So you're saying because it has that fiber intact, it does not actually spike our glucose, right? Yeah,
it's kind of like a, what do they call it in a car? A carburetor. like it just kind of drips the oil into it. So it's not like not the fuel into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's never like you never flood the engine. So it's kind of like that. It just like the sugar slowly absorbs into the bloodstream at a rate that never spikes anything. Now, if you were to like, juice a bunch of oranges and take all the fiber out and chug it, you could run into problems, right? Now I still make orange juice. I live in Arizona. We got citrus. I'm going to go pick some more this weekend, actually. So if I do that, I'll drink it slowly. But I was talking about the fiber thing, and one other point. So we mentioned obviously it helps you poop. Number 2, it slows the absorption of glucose. Here's another thing that's like the third job of fiber that's super important is that it's a prebiotic, meaning that it feeds the good, healthy gut bacteria in your gut. You can't digest that fiber, but they can. Okay, and so that keeps them alive. And it's, as we know, we could talk more about the gut microbiome, but it's like it keeps the healthy gut bacteria alive. So that's the other purpose that it serves. So it's super important. Now, again, we're talking whole foods. Like, don't go out and like buy Metamucil and think you're doing a good thing, right? Like, if you can't poop and you need to take a fiber supplement, it just tells me you're not eating enough like whole plant foods, right? Like, but I think, I can just continue to eat crap and take a Metamucil. It's like, man, that's the reductionist view of like, I just need fiber. I'm just going to eat pure fiber, like in refined form no, get all the nutrients in it. God, it's like way better off doing that.
Yeah.
So,
and so is that kind of your breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Just smoothies?
No, it's my lunch. I've been on a later schedule. So I'm like, it's almost 3:00 here and having a late lunch. But I typically do it for lunch because I actually developed this habit in corporate America because it was like, well, if I just make the smoothie, then I don't have to like spend all this time preparing a lunch. I don't have to go like buy a lunch somewhere. I can just like drink the smoothie, work at my desk, and get more work done. That was like literally it. And then it just became a habit. It was like really transportable, right? Because wherever you're going to go for the day, you can just bring the smoothie, right? Versus like I'm going to bring a big bag of mangoes and eat them, and they're all messy, and I'm like. It's like, it's not the best. So I typically do a smoothie for lunch every day. I typically do like a mono fruit meal for breakfast of just like one type of fruit, just eat as much as I feel like for breakfast. And then for dinner, typically do a big salad with a lot of fruit on it. Make like a homemade dressing in the blender of like fruits, vegetables, herbs, stuff like that. More fruit. Sometimes I'll include some like cooked vegetables like sweet potatoes or regular potatoes or, steamed other vegetables, stuff like that. So that's kind of the formula that's worked, serves me well.
Nice. So what about lentils, nuts, and seeds? Where does that fall in?
Sure. So nuts and seeds, I think, are great in like modest quantities. You don't want to be eating like a whole bag of them, right?
Yeah. They say 7 almonds a day, right?
7's fine, right? Like it's just you don't want to eat more than like a handful, right, in a day. Yeah. I mean, like now if you could go a day without and eat 2 handfuls the next day, sure, but you just don't want to be like making meals out of them. Because if you think about it in nature, I don't know if you've ever picked a nut. I know they got a lot of like pecan trees in Texas. It's a process, right? You got to crack open that first thing, and then you got to like stomp on it to like get the pecan to open, and you got to pick it out of there. And it's like in nature, like if before we had tools or anything like that, it wasn't like very easy to get a bunch of nuts and eat them, right? So, but yeah, nuts in like a modest amount is like a side dish or like a accoutrement, or I love throwing hemp seeds on my salads. Yes. Fantastic, right? And then lentils. So a lot of people with autoimmune issues have like a lot of digestive issues, and lentils can be pretty rough on them. But I think like if you don't have digestive issues and you're just like, boiling them, sure, cool. I also love sprouting them. That's delicious. And then you get even more nutrition out of them. You sprout the lentils and you can eat them raw. They're delicious. But like I still have some degree of digestive issues if I eat lentils. So I tend to do it sparingly, and I tend to do it sprouted. So that's kind of my philosophy on that. But I would say like it's like fruits and vegetables are up here, and then things like lentils and like brown rice and like gluten-free grains and like whole plant legumes are probably like second tier.
Okay. So that's kind of how you prioritize your meals, essentially?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And so I was going to ask you a question on healing.
Take your time.
Went off my head. Oh, right. So when it comes to, as a family, right? I know you have a newborn or almost 3-month-old, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I just turned 3 months last week. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So when it comes to with kids, right? Let's say, I am changing my diet. I am incorporating all these new fruits and vegetables that I haven't, and obviously I see the changes. How would that apply to kids? Because I know kids they're just a whole another level of energy, and they have their own tantrums of what they want to eat, what they don't want to eat. So how do you accommodate their diets?
Oh, great question. So obviously my kid's 3 months old. He's still in breast milk for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Although I'm excited to like when he, I think like we've already had the conversation with the lady of like his first food's going to be mango. Like that's not negotiable. But anyway, what I've found, right? Cause I'm pretty new to being a parent, right? But like working with clients in the past, obviously it's really hard. Like kids can be pretty picky about food, but
yeah.
What I've also found is that kids love fruit. Like they love it. And so I've had so many clients who are like, man, I stocked up for all my stuff, and they're just sort of just starting to work with me, and they're like, they go to the grocery store to make their first big haul of produce. I'm like, yeah, I put a bunch of grapes out on the table so I'd have them, and like tangerines, and like my kids are eating all of them. Like I didn't buy enough. Like you didn't tell me this was going to happen. I'm like, oh, that's cool, right? And they're like, yeah, I ran out and I got to go to the store to get more. I'm like, and they're I'm like, so wait, this is a problem that your kids are eating healthy too?
Yeah.
So obviously like, I don't really feel comfortable like giving parenting advice, right? Especially, having like being super new at it. But I would just say that like kids like fruit, right? And kids, it's like people ask me, how do I get my kids to eat healthier? It's like, the kids are going to just copy what you do, right? Like they're just going to, even if not consciously, but they're just going to follow your example, right?
Right.
So if you're doing it, they're going to do it too, right? Like if you're like, you got to eat this, right? They'd be like, no, I don't want to, right? But then like, if you just bring a bunch of fruit home and you're like eating it and enjoying it, they're kind of like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to have some too, right? But they often don't like to be told what to do, right? And here's another thing that I found, like, and this is all anecdotally because I'm not a parent and I don't feel comfortable. I can give health advice. I don't feel comfortable giving parent advice because I don't think I'm any good, or I don't know if I'm any good. Is that what I've heard is that when you involve the kids in the process of making the food, or even better yet, you involve the kids in the process of growing the food, right? Then they're really bought in. Then they're really excited about it. They saw it start as like a little seed. Right. And then like, an onion sprouted out or whatever. And they're like, this is so cool. Like, and they want to eat it. Right. Yeah. And so the kids are involved in the process of making the dish, throwing the stuff in the blender and hitting the button. Right. They're going to be more bought in because they got to do the fun part of making it. Of course they want to eat it, Yeah. So that's another way. But it's just like, it should be like a pull and not a push. Right.
Right.
And kids will follow an example, and the food's available, right? And they're involved in the process of making it. They're going to tend to gravitate towards eating it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a collective approach. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you actually brought up a point about onions. So, and I randomly thought about this. So there's something called nightshades, right? So eggplant, peppers, I think onion and garlic also have contribute to some hormonal reactions. So do you believe in that too, or do you just treat all fruits and vegetables as equal?
Great question. So nightshades are high in a certain chemical that you may have heard of. It's called nicotine. Okay, so tobacco is a nightshade.
Really?
All right. Yeah. It's the most, obviously it's the most nicotinic plant there is. Like it's so like
Yeah.
other plants within a 5-foot radius of it will die. Right. And nicotine, this is kind of fascinating because this is something I learned about later on. Nicotine has some health benefits, like
In moderate amounts, I'm assuming.
in moderate amounts.
Yeah.
Right now, I mean, there's some really crazy things like if you smoke, your risk of getting Parkinson's is reduced by 50%. Okay.
Really?
Crazy, right? But then you have super increased risk of cancer and heart disease. It's not worth it. I'm not saying like go smoke.
Anyone in the audience who's like considering to smoke, that's not the advice.
Yeah, the smoking is like, if it's like, hey, I'm going to change my diet or quit smoking, you're going to get better bang for your buck quitting smoking. It's like the most destructive habit. But there is a protective effect of nicotine, right? It's just all the other stuff that's in there, and it's kind of like it. And this is the Goldilocks phenomenon, right? It's like, okay, like a little bit of nicotine's good, but like too much, like smoking cigarettes, just too much is going to cause problems.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead have nightshades.
Yeah. So, but then like, and I joked with one of my friends, like, this is why bell peppers are so addictive, So there is benefits to the nicotine, but for some people, it's like even a tiny bit of nicotine causes problems for them, right? And they have sensitivities to nightshades. So those people, don't eat any nightshades, but like, are tomatoes toxic to everybody? No, that's ridiculous, right? So I would just say, like, notice if you have a sensitivity to nightshades, stay away from them. But I think for most people, they're fine. So I'm not like everybody, because I eat nightshades. I don't have any problems with them, but I've had clients that it's like, it's off the table,
Yeah. What about onion and garlic?
Onion and garlic, it's interesting. I used to stay away from them quite religiously. I think that there's some properties of them that can be a little rough on the body.
Okay. But what you mostly hear about garlic, especially, is the anti-inflammatory properties, right? Because it can heal, but obviously in moderate amounts. But I would love to know what you had to say.
Sure. Well, also, and then they also say garlic is an antibiotic, right?
Yes, in Ayurveda specifically, actually.
Yeah, but like it kills bacteria, right?
Okay. Wow.
So, which, like, if you have an infection, it can be a good thing, right? But like,
yes, especially when you have colds and coughs. Like, I remember, like, my grandparents and my parents used to say, just chew on a raw garlic, and your throat will feel better.
But here's the thing: it's like just like a medical antibiotic, it kills the good bacteria and the bad bacteria. It's a double-edged sword. So it's not like you want to be like taking antibiotics all the time, and we know that's
right.
Bad scene, right? Now, granted, like the antibiotics and properties of garlic are like, pretty mild. It's not like you're getting a shot of Cipro or something, but like it kills healthy gut bacteria. So I'm not like, oh my God, you got to avoid garlic. It's going to kill you, right? But like, it's not the healthiest food in some ways. The other thing is that, like, you eat these things. Here's another clue: is that you smell them in your sweat. You smell them in your body, right?
If you eat
and
them?
So what?
If you consume too much garlic?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You never, or like you smell it on your breath, right? Like onion breath.
After.
Garlic,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so that means that the body's trying to get rid of it. The body's trying to detoxify it. So that's a sign that, like, the body doesn't like that. It's trying to get rid of it. Right? What else was I going to say? You cut an onion, you cry, right? Your body has a reaction. Like, that should be a sign that, like, something going on there. Right? Yeah. So, are they like the devil and everybody should cut them out? Like, no, I still eat garlic and onions from time to time. I mentioned the onion thing because we actually, like, had some green onions that we got, and we cut, just as an experiment, like, saved the roots and put them in water, and now they're growing new onions. We're like, this is cool. It's fun. Yeah. So it's like, I think they're overhyped in their ability to do things. And there's some side effects, but like, I have friends and colleagues who are like, no garlic, no onions. They're toxic. Well, stay away from them. I'm like, they got some problems. There's some hints that, like, hey, something's going on. Right. But, I'm kind of Switzerland on them. Like, I don't think they're the greatest thing ever, and I think but I still consume them from time to time.
Yeah. Okay. So before we move on to the next topic of functional medicine, I wanted to kind of wrap this topic up by you giving your like top 5 fruits and vegetables that you eat religiously, and then 5 or even less, it depends, whatever number you want to pick, fruits and vegetables that you should moderately consume because of potential side effects or any reactions.
Okay. Okay. So I'll start with this, and you might not like this answer, but I just want to tell you the truth, which is that pretty much all fruits and vegetables are health promoting, right? Like, I'm not like, oh, guys, like, you got to have green apples because they're like the better than all the red apples and the bananas like, pretty much all fruit is health promoting, right? Now, obviously, there are vegetables that like there's like, what is it, rhubarb? If you eat it in raw form, it's toxic or something. But I can tell you like my 5 favorite ones to eat, but I would say like, as general advice, like, eat the ones that are in season that taste good, that you enjoy. Like, I don't like kiwis. I never liked kiwis. Can't get into them. I don't eat kiwis, right? It's not because they're unhealthy, but I just don't like them. So I would say stick to what you like. So my favorites, mango's like one of my favorites, right? Raspberries, another huge favorite. There's a fruit that I love that it doesn't grow. You can't get it in the United States, really, because it's like it grows in Central America and like
tropical places.
Yeah, and like if you try to cut it off the tree too early, it never really ripens. You can't really export it.
Okay.
It's called soursop, and it tastes like sour apple Jolly Ranchers, but like in pudding form. It's amazing. So soursop is the bomb. Another fruit that I like that's just, it's gotten so exorbitantly expensive that I don't really buy it anymore. It's like $4 a pound, is durian. Which is like the stinky fruit. And then number 5 would be jackfruit, which I'm sure, you're Indian, you probably know jackfruit, but that's the fruit that actually Juicy Fruit gum was made to taste like jackfruit.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, those are probably my favorites. And then like least favorites, kiwis. And I'll just come out and say it. I've got no shame in my game. I don't like kale.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like it. It's not good. I think everyone
just don't like the taste of it.
It doesn't taste good. Like, it's very nutrient dense, right? And I think people try to pretend that they like it because it's so nutritious, but I don't like it. Oh, there's plenty of other vegetables I'll eat, but I can't do the kale, and I don't really like. I've kind of stopped liking carrots. Maybe I had too many of them. I don't know.
Lots of vitamin A, I guess.
Yeah. But there's no fruits or vegetables that I would say avoid. I can just tell you which ones I don't like. I feel like there's one, plums. I like plums. There we go. That's my two lists. I hope that's good.
Yes, absolutely. So now let's talk a little bit about functional medicine. I think we briefly discussed about it in the beginning, but now let's go deep into functional medicine. How does it differ from conventional medicine and its approach to treating illnesses?
So I'm going to say some things that are going to upset some people.
Well,
but I think actually
opinions.
And so I will come out and say that I don't consider myself a functional medicine practitioner. Okay. I think there's problems with functional medicine, and I'll outline them. And I think it's a lot more similar to conventional medicine than people want to think. So conventional medicine, functional medicine primarily differs from the fact that like people in functional medicine realize that these pharmaceuticals, these synthetic drugs, are like really toxic, and they have a lot of problems and a lot of side effects, and they don't really they just suppress the symptoms. They like ignore the root cause. And oftentimes the symptom is actually the body's attempt to heal itself, which is another discussion. So they want a safer and more natural approach, right? But they still tend to look at it from a medical model. So a term that some people use is called green allopathy, right? Allopathic medicine being like conventional medicine, but it's like a green version of it. So instead of putting you on, 6 pharmaceutical drugs, we'll put you on 6 supplements, right? That might, and so instead of treating like the symptoms, now they're treating like the blood work, right? Like, oh, this marker's high. We're going to give you this for that marker. Oh, this marker came in low. We're going to give you this for support on that, right? And they're still not really looking at the big picture. And they might give you some guidance of like, cut down on processed food, cut down on gluten, cut down on I don't know, certain things that are unhealthy for you, right? But it's really still like what I call a quid pro quo model, which means this for that in Latin, right? Like I'm going to give you this supplement for that and this supplement for that. Whereas you're like, well, what, do I have cherries or bananas or what do I eat for my joint pain? And it's like, no. I'm like, no. It doesn't work that way. It's not quid pro quo. It's like all fruits and vegetables are good and health promoting. It's not like, oh, I got, lupus, I got to have blueberries. Oh, but this person has MS and they need to eat, strawberries. That's a medical mindset. That's a medical model. That's a medical outlook on things of like this drug for this disease. It's like disease is just a deficiency of health. So this is why I called my book Create Health. Okay. Because it's like people are so focused on fighting the disease and addressing the disease and the symptoms, right? But it's like what you resist persists. What you fight, you get more of. War on drugs, we got way more drugs. War on terror, we got too much terror. War on cancer is second leading cause of death, right? It's like we try to fight these things and they just get bigger, right? So what you focus on grows, even if it's the negative. So why not focus on health, right? And it's just like I'm gonna eat the food that creates the most health, create the most health for myself. And this is what I experienced of like, I went from not only did I not have any disease processes in my body, but like I felt better than I knew I could feel because I was like unbeknownst to myself, didn't realize it at the time, just creating a lot of health. And so functional medicine is still really in this like fighting of the disease model. And like, look, it's a heck of a lot better than like, I would rather someone be on, 6 to 10 supplements than be on like an immune suppressant biologic, like in my opinion, right? Like obviously I can't prescribe drugs, but like, there's serious problems with these immune suppressant drugs. Like you need your immune system. It's an important part of your body. Like it fights disease. It fights cancer, right? Cancer's happening in your body all the time. Most of the time your immune system finds it and kills it, right? But if you suppress your immune system on a long enough timeline, it says a black box warning on the drug can lead to some, you even hear the commercials. Like, if you start to develop cancer, talk to your doctor. Like, what? What are you? What? Right? So, I mean, like, I don't want to throw too much shade on functional medicine. Like, it's running away from conventional medicine, but I don't think it's running in the right direction. If that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. I think what you said, you had a great point about, how we have these symptoms, and especially in terms of, having a label, reading labels, that's something that we're not taught. And so I think when especially for autoimmune, right? The first thing that they give is steroids. And, when I got to know, I was not comfortable because there's something about steroids that just makes you so dependent on it and it's hard to get off. And so that's not the first thing that I reached out to. But functional medicine, yes. But still, like you said, there's 6 or 7 different supplements, which are great. But do I need to take all just because 1 or 2 of my markers are off? Or is it like I totally resonate with it. And I just feel like maybe if it was more collective approach or even holistic approach where there's diet, there's supplements, there's a little bit of everything, right? Because sometimes maybe for immediate relief, I think supplements are definitely great because it gives you that sense of, relief essentially. But for sustainable approach, I think definitely whole food diet.
Yeah. I mean, it can get some results. And what I've found is that, a lot of people that come to me have gone that they go the conventional route. Eventually they're like, oh, this sucks. I'm not getting anywhere. They go the functional route and maybe they get 20%, 30%, 50% better, right? Obviously, maybe there's some people that do that and they get 100% better. I don't know. But I have a lot of people who've like gone the functional medicine route and they're like, do you do functional medicine? Like, do you want to run my blood work? Like, this is what I got. I'm feeling like somewhat better, but not really all the way. And so it helps to some degree. I just feel like we get way better results, like going the path that I'm advising. So I don't remember what the original question was. I tend to go on rants. I'm sorry.
No, You're fine. The question was more so around how do you differentiate conventional and functional medicine? If
Okay.
there are any strengths when it comes to chronic disease management was my next. So I think you kind of touched on it. But do you have anything
Yeah,
else you want to
chronic
add?
disease management in conventional medicine is abysmal.
What about
It's
for
like,
functional medicine?
yeah, it's better. Now, well, to give to conventional medicine credit, like acute care, like if, like I said, like if my arm gets chopped off, I'm not gonna be like, oh, pour a green smoothie on it, right? Like, no, I'm gonna go to the conventional doctor and say, sew my arm back on.
Yeah.
So, so I think functional medicine is like, it's kind of like it's some steps away from conventional medicine, but I still think it's flawed, right? Like, and can I share some things about what you've been
Please.
through as an example?
Yeah, no, please. I'm very
Like,
transparent. Yes.
you reached out to me and you're like, oh, I got all this blood work, right? And you sent me like years of, and they're doing like pages upon pages of pages.
It's like 8-9 pages. Yes.
Yeah.
One report
it's
is
like,
8-9 pages, and that's like 3 years of autoimmune condition reports. So
yeah. And it's like it's like this idea that like, oh, we gotta, like, I don't do a lot of blood work with people because most of the time I don't need to. Like, if I can just focus on creating health with them, most of the problems will go away. Now, it's good to have it, right? Especially if it's like a Rheum and Weep scenario of like, look, my C-reactive protein used to be a 7 and now it's at a 0.3, you know? It's like, cool. We got like the objective data to show that what we did works. That's cool, right? But it's like, wouldn't you rather feel better? Because, you can do a lot of gymnastics with supplements and medications to make the numbers on the paper change, but the person doesn't feel any better.
yeah.
Well, then what was the point of that? You know?
Yeah. You said
so I
something
think,
similar to me. You were like, is it important for you to know which autoimmune condition you have, or is it important for you to actually heal? And I said, I don't care what it is. I just don't want it.
well, yeah, that's an important question because a lot of people are so focused on like, I have the diagnosis. I've never been formally diagnosed. Right? Was that like, so, well, you were never really sick. It's like, yeah, I was sick. Like, look, just because someone can't figure it out or put a name on it,
Right.
like, people get so focused, like, I have the diagnosis. Don't you want, like, what if it takes you another 5 years to get a diagnosis? You're just going to stick around being sick until you can put a name tag on it? Like, what? So.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, there's a lot. And I feel like with social media, there's just the good news is there's a lot of light that's being, shed on natural functional medicine. Definitely everyone is trying their best to keep it as natural as possible. I think it still requires some degree of not working in silos and kind of working in a holistic way.
Totally.
So yeah, and it's great. And so I guess my next question is, what for those that are experiencing a chronic condition, or even if they're not experiencing a chronic condition on paper but aren't feeling well, and feel like they have a disease, not disease as a disease, but just some sort of discomfort, dis-ease, what changes do you recommend for them to start with?
Great question. And so obviously they can go down the road of like getting it diagnosed to figure out what it is, but like,
Do some blood
like
work,
you mentioned,
yeah.
like we want to start feeling good, right? So it's not like you can't, like when we talk about, creating health, right? There's no like side effects of like, oh, I had a smoothie and this, like all the side effects are good things, right? There's no, what we call, contraindications to eating healthy, right? Whereas like any medication can have contraindications and have side effects, right? Like all the side effects of healthy eating are good things. So it's like, get started with that. And just to give an example, I had a woman who was like, my lupus. She had lupus really bad. She'd been put on steroids and like hated the way she felt on them and prednisone and all of that. And anyway, she worked with me for a while, got her feeling way better. And then she was like, oh, and then I went to the doctor and when they, and we ran my blood work and some proved. And when they did the exam, they found out that all the cancerous lymph nodes in my armpit had gone away. And I was like, what? You never told me you had cancerous lymph nodes in your armpit? And she's like, oh yeah, I do. And they're gone. And I'm like, I thought we were talking about lupus. okay, cool, right? So, so what can they do? I would say do the old school Dr. Ben approach of just like get some fruits, get some vegetables, throw them in the blender and make a smoothie, right? It's just an easy way to get a lot of fruits and vegetables in. Like you could sit down there and, one by one peel a bunch of bananas and eat them, right? But that's not like, that's kind of taxing, right? So I think smoothies are like the great first step, right? And so, and obviously, I could say, oh, get my book. It's got smoothie recipes in there.
Yes.
But honestly, like Google like fruit and vegetable smoothie recipes in YouTube and you'll find recipes, right? Like it shouldn't be complicated. And a lot of the recipes I make, like this is like strawberries, organic lettuce, organic bananas. Like that's what's in it, right? And water as a base, right? It doesn't have to be complex, right? It definitely doesn't. So I think it's just like we want to, like the degree of health you're going to experience is the amount of fruits and vegetables you eat, right? So it's like, why not go big, right? Like, yeah, you could just start eating an apple with your ham sandwich every day and maybe you might feel 2% better, but why not do this and feel like way better, So that's my advice to those people. I hope that makes sense.
You mentioned organic several times in the list of fruits and vegetables you put in your smoothie. What's your take on organic produce versus conventional produce?
That's a great question. I used to be a big stickler about that. I think, obviously like this is a kind of long nuanced discussion, but I'll just share a few things. Obviously like the less chemicals that are sprayed on it, like the better. Right. But like understand that with organic produce, by USDA organic standards, there's still like 30 pesticides they can use. They're just considered safe ones. Right. So, don't think that the organic isn't sprayed too. It's just like, they can't use glyphosate. They can't use a lot of the really harsh ones, right?
It's less number of chemicals.
Yeah, but like if you grow it at home, like I have a guy at the farmer's market. He's like young kid. He's like 19. He grows all his vegetables hydroponically, and he's like, "Look, this is like a bootstrap operation. I can't afford the $3,000 a year to get USDA organic certified." But he's like, "I promise you don't spray any chemicals on these things." I'm like, "Cool, legit, right?" So I think organic, like in general, is going to be better than conventional. But here's something that blew my mind. Okay, I had a woman who found me, and due to the part of the country that she lived in, she couldn't get access to any organic fruits or vegetables. Okay.
Wow.
But she had debilitating multiple sclerosis. Okay, to the point where she was like starting to go blind because her vision, it was affecting her optic nerve. And she also had Hashimoto's. And I was like, well, let's just do the best we can, right? And on all conventional produce, all conventional fruits and vegetables, she healed the MS and the Hashimoto's. And I was like, okay, I'm starting to rethink my stance on organic here. So now my stance is like, hey, organic, great. If you can get it, do it. Awesome. Is it a necessity? Probably not. Like after seeing that happen, I'm just like, it's good if you can get it, but don't let it be a showstopper.
Yeah. So when you say heal, is it removal of symptom or is it actually reversal of the condition on paper and by feeling?
Sure. So MS is kind of a tricky one because so MS means multiple sclerosis, right? And a sclerosis is sclera is like a Latin word meaning like a white hard thing, right? So when they MRI their brain, they see these white hard patches there, right? And so she got to the point where all the symptoms went away. She was feeling better, right? And she asked to come off the medication, and the neurologist said yes. Still feeling better, still feeling good, still symptom free. Did another MRI, and the sclera were still there. Right. And as far as I know, the lesions have continued to stay stable. They haven't gone away. Right. So it's like, did she reverse the disease? At that point, like she's symptom free and not on medication. Right. So you could say yes, you could say no. I've worked with several people with MS. Some people, the lesions have shrunk. haven't gotten any of them to go completely away, but many people have gotten symptom free with either stable or smaller lesions. So,
Nice.
and it's like this idea of reversal, right? Like if you go back on your eating habits, the disease will come back, right? So I definitely use the word reversal and not a cure. It's like cure is a fictitious idea that there are any cures to anything.
Right. Yeah.
It's a fantasy. Sorry
Yes.
to break anybody's bubble. When people say, "Oh, there's no cure to this," I'm like, "Yeah, there is no cure, but it can be reversed."
Yeah.
So it's cut, and it's like reversal is a process, right? Like diabetes can be type 2 diabetes can be reversed, but it's like if you're like your A1C, which is kind of measure of how bad the diabetes is.
Yeah.
If it's above a 6, you got diabetes, right? So if your A1C is a 7, like a 12, and you bring it down to a 9, like you've reversed diabetes. You haven't fully reversed it, but you're in the process of it. Like your symptoms are getting better, you're feeling better, right? And it's a process to get it eventually below 6. So you're in the process of reversing it, and you could fully reverse it, right? I guess this is like semantics to some degree.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's important semantics because like people got to understand that like healing is a process. It takes time.
Yes.
You know, it's like conventional medicine says this idea of like you're healed,
Quick
right?
fix.
But it's really like more like we suppressed your symptoms, so you're not feeling what's going on inside your body anymore,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I hope I answered the question. I'm sorry.
No, you did. No, you did. The reason why I even asked that question was because I wanted to kind of set the stage on, just because you're doing all naturopathic stuff, depending on your condition, are you going to reverse it? Are you going to heal the symptom? Are you going to feel a lot better? Or are you in the journey of healing? It's going to vary, right? Depending on the stage of where you are. And whether or not your body heals is there's several factors, definitely food, but also kind of your condition, where you are there external stresses and things like that too. And so,
totally.
that was my main motive is I don't want to set a false intention that just because you do all this, you're going to heal and you're going to, kind of have a second life again, but more so it's a progress and it's a journey. It's not just like you do this for 6 months and, you have like a baby body again. It's really not. It's consistency, it's resilience, and you have to just develop these skills over time and just hope that, your body heals itself.
Totally. Yeah. And it's a non-linear process as well.
Yes.
Like, cause almost without fail, like I'll work with people and they'll like, oftentimes in the beginning, like start to see rapid improvement, right? And they won't get all the way better, but like the first couple of weeks, they'll be like, wow, like the fog's lifting. Like I'm feeling like I'm going to come out of this. I'm not 100%. And then something will happen, or just the natural course of things, like they'll kind of backslide and things will get worse for a bit. And they're like, no, what happened? Right. And just the body is like going through this reorganization process, this cleaning of house.
Yeah.
And it's just we're not robots. Mm-hmm. We're humans. We're extremely complex. So it's a process that takes time, and it is not like a linear or step function. Like it's like like the graph goes in the right direction, but it wobbles a lot along the way. Kind of like, kind of like anything in nature.
Yeah, as for anything in life, yes, nothing is linear. And last question before we hear final thoughts from you. You mentioned symptom is basically a sign of it wanting to heal itself. Could you elaborate on that a little? I was going to touch on it and it just struck me again. Sure.
So, for example, if you have a skin condition like eczema or psoriasis, right? What's really going on is that there's toxicity in your body, and your body's trying to expunge it, purge it out through the skin. Right? And so, but for whatever toxicity is, the skin's probably not the best channel, right? There's multiple ways to get toxicity out of the body, right? Like you can pee it out, you can poop it out, you can breathe it out, right? Like you can sweat it out. Like there's ways to get rid of things, right? Like it can come out through the hair. It can, like I've seen it work. Like I worked at a fasting clinic with this one dude, like literally like he had Sjogren's and like 7 days into the fast, like his earwax come out of his ears, like detoxified it, right? So with the diet, you can open up the other channels of detoxification, and then it can go out the way it's supposed to go, right? But we look at, there's a skin problem, right? It's like, no, the body's trying to get toxicity out through the skin. So what do? Oh, there's this, let's give it a steroid, right? That just like shuts off the healing response. And then the skin condition goes away temporarily, right?
Yeah.
But this like the toxicity is still there and it comes back because the body's like desperately trying to get rid of stuff. So it's like, it's kind of like, the check engine light comes in your car, and you're like, oh, well, I can just put a piece of tape over it. I don't want to deal with that. Yeah. Right. Well, you still got to or you can punch a hole in the dashboard, like stupid light, go away, annoying me. Right. But like the problem's still there. You just shut off the signal.
The root cause. Yeah.
Yeah.
So until you address the root cause, the light won't go away.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the light's just the symptom, right? But if you see the light as the problem and you try to make the light go away, you can do that, but you haven't really fixed the problem. And chances are the problem, like you keep driving it around, like even though the tape's over the check engine light, is the car going to get better or going to get worse? It's going to get worse, right? Until you go to the mechanic and get the problem fixed. But that's what a lot of people are doing. A lot of people and doctors don't know that that's kind of the approach that they're doing.
Yeah, that's very true.
Like, for example, a lot of these autoimmune conditions, they want a biologic and immune suppressant, right? Like, oh, your immune system is attacking your joints, or it's attacking your thyroid, or it's attacking your colon, or whatever. Or what you want a drug to suppress your immune system. Well, the reason the immune system's going haywire is not because your immune system's stupid. Like there's toxicity in your system. There's a problem that like if we fix that, then the immune system wouldn't go haywire, right? But they want to treat the symptom of the immune system attacking the joint, right? Yeah. And it just.
Sorry, go ahead.
It leads to problems. Like you got to have that immune system.
Mm-hmm. Because 70% of your immune system is in your gut. And if you just treat your gut, with care and religiously, then half of your problems would essentially be gone.
Yep.
It's great science. It's natural science.
Yeah.
And honestly, sometimes I feel, until something happens, we don't realize the value of our health. Right. And then we learn all this and then we're just like mind boggled on, what we did all these years. Unfortunately, we're not taught this stuff because it's some of it just like you and I, where you have to kind of teach yourself. I mean, you went really to the extent that you wanted to not only heal yourself, but also other people, which is amazing. But for people like me, it's mostly just like a self-discovery of you talk to people, you meet new people, you meet new physicians, you kind of venture out in these different, modalities of medicine, and you just kind of find what works for you.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a great, thing to say, because it's like, hey, you can take all the advice I give with a grain of salt. Like I wouldn't take anything they say as gospel. Like I would attain multiple sources of information, put everything to the test, and like know it first. It's like you have to be involved in your own health. Like you're not going to information your way into feeling better. Like at some point, you have to put things to use and be an experiment of one. Yeah,
it has to be action based. You have to take that action, right? Just like you can't set New Year goals and not do anything about it and then expect December 31st to come and you have all your goals achieved. You have to actually put in the action with the intent.
Yeah, or it's like, if I just listen to enough podcasts, I'll get all the information.
Yeah.
And then I'll know, right? It's like, but now's not a good time to eat healthier. We got Easter coming up and, maybe after like kids graduate, but then summer's going to be like barbecue season. So
it's never
right. Yeah, it's never a convenient time. Yeah. But there's a point that I think I definitely hit. And it sounds like you're there. Is like what we call emotional leverage, right? Where the pain of staying the same has become so great that the pain of changing actually seems like, I guess I'm like dying here. I'll eat healthier. God, okay, right? But it's like I had to. And then I found out like, this isn't actually that hard to put fruits and vegetables in a blender, right? Like to chop fruits and vegetables. Like this is not that hard, right? But like in my mind, I'd made it so hard. But like you got to get to this point of like where you're at is so bad that you'd be willing to change. And not everybody's there, and that's okay.
That's okay. Yeah. And I think just like what you said, no matter how much we preach, no matter how much we can try to convince someone to change their lifestyle, until and unless it becomes an inconvenience to them, it's not going to happen. And you just have to see it. I mean, it's like trial and error to an extent, because you try it, you see results, and then you're more likely to keep up with it and then kind of preach about it to more people. So, yeah, definitely trial and error. But Dr. Ben, did you have anything else that you wanted to discuss that I didn't bring up today?
Yeah, can I plug myself real quick?
Please. Oh, I mean, I was going to do it anyway, but yeah, please.
Okay, sure. So social media, most active on Instagram, Dr. Benjamin Benulis. Yeah, my name is a mouthful. I'm sure you'll put it in the show notes. Also, that's my website. You go on there. And then the book is Create Health, Reverse Autoimmune Disease Without Drugs or Their Side Effects. Hopefully it's not backwards, but anyway.
No, it's good.
You can get an electronic copy on createhealthbook.com, and I throw in some bonuses if you get it there. Or if you want a paper copy, you can go on Amazon and support the machine. Up to you. And then I do have my own podcast. It's called Looking for Healing Radio. We'll put a link to that in the show notes.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Dr. Ben, it was great having you on the show. It was a very lighthearted episode because, the kind of personality you have, very, very fun, very fact-based, but also just keep it easy. So I think this is a fun episode for anyone to listen to, nothing too serious, but we talked about a lot of things. So I'm just hoping that the message comes across, and wishing everyone a great healing journey.
All right. Thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun for me too.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ben. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Be sure to check out the show notes for all the links to Dr. Ben's website and his book that we talked about today. I'm really looking forward to having you tune in for another episode of more topics that peel back the layers of the noise and complexity and return to the raw, the real, and the essential. Until then, take care, and thank you again for joining me.